6 years ago, my fiancée's old flame went into a coma. She paid a fortune for a cryopreservation service, freezing herself to wait for him. Now Julian Croft is awake, and so is she. She brought him back to the Vance family estate, saw me living there, and assumed I'd spend all this time waiting for her. She offered me the chance to stay like she was bestowing a great charity. Julian just got out of the hospital, and he's still not fully recovered, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. I'll allow you to stay in the house to take care of him. I was silent for a moment, then answered calmly. I'm married to someone else, and I don't need your permission to be in this house. A sneer twisted her lips. Don't play games, Ethan. Everyone knows you're crazy about me. Later, when she found out I really was married with a child, her face went as white as a sheet. But you were supposed to be my husband, she stammered. Veronica Vance's husband. Seeing me in the main house, Veronica Vance looked genuinely surprised. I can't believe you've been pining for me for 6 years, she said, shaking her head as if amused. But my heart belongs to Julian. I'm going to marry him and spend the rest of my life making it up to him. Nothing you do will ever change that. I let the silence hang in the air for a beat. I'm married to someone else, I repeated. She laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. Oh, stop it. Everyone knows you'd do anything for me. She waved a dismissive hand. Look, you waited 6 years. I'm not heartless. Julian's just woken up, and he's still weak from the hospital. I'll let you stay on and help care for him. 6 years had passed. She was stuck in the exact same place, but I was no longer the man who hung on her every word, the man who didn't even mind when people called me her doormat. I'm not lying, I said, my voice even. I'm married, and I don't need your permission to live here. Veronica scoffed. I get it. You think you're the rightful son-in-law of the Vance family. But don't forget, we never finished the ceremony. We never even signed a marriage license. Even if you've been living here for 6 years under the title of my husband, it was never real. She was right. The wedding never finished. 6 years ago, I was standing on the altar, my heart pounding as I watched my bride walk down the aisle toward me. But then someone whispered something in her ear. Her face went pale, then she grabbed my arm, her grip like a vice, and slapped me hard across the face in front of everyone. If anything happens to Julian, she hissed, I will never ever forgive you. And with that, she ran out of the wedding before I could say anything. Now Julian Croft spoke up, his voice laced with a false innocence. Ronnie, maybe I should go. After all, he's the one living in the Vance house now. He clutched her hand, his expression a perfect mask of heartbroken reluctance, making a show of trying to leave. Veronica immediately wrapped her arms around him. No, don't go, Julian, she pleaded. I'm never letting you go again. She shot me a glare filled with venom. I only agreed to marry you because I knew how obsessed with me you were. If I hadn't, Julian never would have gotten so upset that he ended up in a coma. You're the reason he lost 6 years of his life, she accused. It's all your fault. Back then, I was blinded by love. Only now that I see how shameless she could be. Veronica, get one thing. Julian ending up in a coma has absolutely nothing to do with me. She cut me off, her voice sharp with anger. I'm letting you take care of him so you can make amends. If you're going to be this ungrateful, then you can get the hell out of the Vance house right now. Kick me out? She didn't have the authority. Veronica, your aunt and I. I was halfway through my sentence when Mr. Roberts the butler walked in, his face beaming with excitement. Miss Vance, I've informed your parents that you've awakened. They're on their way back from the city right now. Veronica nodded. Good. Have someone prepare the large bedroom on the first floor. Julian can't be walking too much, so he can stay there for now. Mr. Roberts looked troubled. I'm afraid that room was converted into your brother's playroom, miss. It's not suitable for sleeping. Veronica stared. When did I get a brother? The moment my son was mentioned, the butler's eyes softened with affection. The young master is 5 years old, miss. He's a handsome and charming little boy. I'm sure you'll adore him when you see him. Veronica's brow furrowed, then a smirk of understanding spread across her face. While mom still has it in her, try to keep up with the trends and have a second kid at her age. I turned to look at her. She'd selfishly frozen herself without a second thought, and now that she was back, she hadn't bothered to learn a single thing about the past 6 years. She just waltzes back and making demands and jumping to wild conclusions. Had the cryogenic process atrophied her brain? The butler paused, then chuckled nervously. You have quite the sense of humor, Miss Vance. The young master is your cousin. He's your Aunt Eleanor's son. Veronica processed this for a second, then burst out laughing. Aunt Eleanor got married? I thought she was allergic to men. I figured she'd be single forever. She leaned in conspiratorially. Quick, tell me who's my new uncle. I'm dying to know what kind of man could actually catch her eye. Mr. Roberts's expression became impossibly complicated. He glanced at me, and seeing my calm demeanor, he wiped a bead of sweat from his brow before speaking, his voice trembling slightly. Mr. Cole is your uncle. 6 years ago, after Veronica had shoved me to the ground and abandoned me at the altar, the entire room erupted in whispers. Everyone was pointing at me, judging me. It was her Aunt Eleanor who stepped onto the stage, silenced the chaos, and asked me if I was willing to marry her instead. I was planning on crashing the wedding anyway. She had whispered to me, her head held high, but the bride saved me the trouble by running away. Now you can't let me lose face. Her words stunned me, but they also instantly pulled me back from the brink of a complete breakdown. Eleanor Vance, brilliant, beautiful, a successful entrepreneur, and effortlessly confident. She was the perfect woman in the eyes of countless men. And this incredible woman was here saving me from total humiliation. Why was I still thinking about the woman who would just shatter my world? And just like that, I married Veronica's aunt. Back in the present, Veronica's body went rigid, then a mocking smile twisted her lips. Mr. Roberts, are you going senile? My Aunt Eleanor, do you have any idea who she is? Why would she ever lower herself to be with someone like Ethan Cole? Eleanor was a low-key business genius. She started her own company while she was still in college, building an empire from the ground up. The moment her talent became obvious, Grandpa Vance had handed her the reins of the family business, which was why the Vance name was even more prominent today. Aside from Grandpa Vance himself, Eleanor was the most respected person in the family. When Eleanor spoke, nobody dared to argue. When she crashed my wedding, I thought she was just putting on a show to save the family's reputation. I was fully prepared for a quick, quiet divorce, but she never brought it up. Instead, after we were married, she was incredibly kind and considerate, a truly devoted wife. Veronica shot me a disdainful look. The only reason he's still in this house is because he couldn't bear to leave me. He was waiting for me. Don't get it twisted. Mr. Roberts wiped frantically at his forehead. It's true, miss. Mr. Cole really is your uncle. Their son is about to graduate from kindergarten. If you don't believe me, you can ask anyone else. Veronica scanned the room, her face tight. Besides you, all the servants here are new faces. She glared at me. Ethan Cole, you're quite the schemer, aren't you? Bribing the old butler, replacing the entire staff. Were you really that desperate to marry into the Vance family? My expression remained neutral. 6 years is a long time. Things change. You're overthinking it. Oh, you've got an excuse for everything. I was actually thinking of giving you a few $1 million as compensation for waiting around all these years, but it seems I was being too generous. Her voice turned sharp. While you've been living in luxury in my family's house, Julian was clinging to life in the hospital. Now I order you to get on your knees and apologize to him. Mr. Roberts was horrified. Miss, you can't. He's your elder now. You can't make your uncle kneel to this man. I stood up and started walking forward. Julian's eyes lit up with triumph, clearly expecting me to kneel and beg for forgiveness. But I walked right past him and crouched down. Leo, my son, who knows what he'd been playing in, came barreling toward me covered in dirt and threw himself into my arms. Daddy, I caught a bunch of tadpoles, he chirped excitedly. Veronica's eyes looked ready to pop out of her head. They were fixed on Leo's face. Ethan Cole, where did you get a son? You promised you would only ever have children with me, she shrieked. My aunt is an ice queen. She's cold and distant and only cares about work. She would never marry you. You can't fool me. Julian's eyes darted back and forth, then he added with feigned indignation. Ethan, did you think Ronnie would be frozen forever? Did you find a kid that looks like her just to pass him off as your own flesh and blood? You're trying to steal her inheritance. You're a monster. Leo didn't understand what the adults were saying, but his instincts told him Julian was bad news. He stood in front of me, his little face serious. Daddy, is this bad man bothering you? Don't be scared, I'll protect you. A look of dawning realization softened Veronica's expression. She immediately turned on Leo. You little brat, are you trying to start a fight? The butler rushed over. Miss, please, he really is your cousin. Mrs. Vance will be home any minute and you'll see I'm not lying. I didn't want them using my son as a pawn in their drama. Mr. Roberts, I said, please take the young master upstairs for a bath. Just as the butler led Leo away, Veronica's parents returned. The moment her mother saw her, she burst into tears, fussing over Veronica, checking her from head to toe while gently hitting her arm. "You ungrateful child, freezing yourself without telling us a thing. Do you have any idea how worried I was? If you hadn't woken up, what would your father and I have done?" Her father, however, saw Julian standing next to her, and his face immediately darkened. "Who gave you permission to bring him here?" Veronica's mother quickly grabbed her husband's arm. "Robert, shut up. Do you want her to go and freeze herself again?" His love for his daughter won out. Mr. Vance fell silent. "Mom, Dad," Veronica announced. Julian finally woke up. "If I lose him again, I'll never be happy. I'm going to marry him." What a tragic couple. I couldn't be bothered. Seeing Grandpa Vance's car pull into the driveway, I asked the kitchen staff to serve dinner. We all took our seats at the long dining table. Veronica sat on one side holding Julian's hand and made sure to place him in the seat next to our mother. I walked to the other side and sat down, leaving 2 empty chairs between myself and her father. Leo, having finished his bath, had run back outside to play and was now washing his hands. Seeing me sitting several seats down from them, Veronica frowned. "Still playing hard to get?" she muttered. "I saved you plenty of space over here." I tried to ignore her, but then her lips curved into a smug smile and my phone buzzed with a text. "I never knew you loved me this much. You even adopted a child who looks just like me. Since my family has obviously accepted you over the years, you can stay, but you have to give my place as the lady of the house to Julian. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. When Aunt Eleanor gets back, I'll ask for her and Grandpa's permission to let you keep a place in the Vance family. I'm being more than fair. After dinner you can go and apologize to Julian." I let out a long sigh. Her arrogance was truly breathtaking. Whatever, she would find out soon enough that I was in fact married to her aunt. Just then an elegant figure appeared in the doorway. Eleanor, dressed in a perfectly tailored designer pantsuit, walked in with an unhurried grace. Eleanor took her seat. She gave Veronica a brief glance, but didn't say a word to her. Instead, her first question was about our son. "Where's Leo?" "Washing his hands," I replied. Leo always took forever to wash his hands. He had to meticulously follow the 7-step hand-washing method his kindergarten teacher had taught him. With Eleanor present, Veronica made her move. "Grandpa, Aunt Eleanor, Mom, Dad, now that Julian and I are back, I want to marry him." She then pointed a finger at me. "As for Ethan Cole, he's lived in our house for 6 years, and you all seem to get along, so he can stay. But that boy Leo has to go. Julian and I will have our own children, and I will not acknowledge him." Eleanor's brow furrowed. "Why should my son have to leave? And since when does he need your acknowledgement?" Leo finally finished washing his hands and trotted out of the bathroom. He went to his chair, and Eleanor lifted him onto it. He chirped loudly. "Mommy." Veronica looked so stunned she nearly fell out of her chair. "What?" Grandpa Vance, who had been silent until now, slammed his hand on the table, his face dark with rage. He roared at Veronica. "You ridiculous girl. You froze yourself for this man, and now you bring him into my house and demand to marry him? Have you lost your mind?" Julian's eyes welled up, and he huddled behind Veronica, clutching her arm. She didn't seem to notice. Her eyes were wide, fixed on our side of the table, her voice trembling. "What? What did you just call her?" Leo had been running around outside for hours and was starving. Ignoring the drama across the table, his eyes were glued to the food as he tugged on Eleanor's sleeve. "Mommy, I want shrimp. Peel it for me." Eleanor's expression softened. "Okay, sweetie, how many do you want?" Leo held up 3 fingers, then decided that wasn't enough and held up both hands. "I want 7, no 10. Grandpa Vance and Eleanor both chuckled. Veronica couldn't take it anymore. Her eyes wide with disbelief bored into me, the veins on her arms standing out. She struggled to speak. "Aunt Eleanor, he's your son? But why does he call Ethan Cole Daddy?" Eleanor gave Leo a loving kiss on the cheek, then met my gaze with a look full of affection. "Leo is my son with Ethan. Of course he calls me Mommy." Veronica shot up from her seat, utter disbelief written all over her face. "Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. Ethan Cole, you were supposed to be my husband. You brat. What is this nonsense you're spouting the second you walk in this door?" Grandpa Vance bellowed. "Is that any way to speak to your elders?" Her father's voice boomed as well. "If you're going to keep acting like a lunatic, you can get out." Veronica remained standing, her eyes red, breathing in ragged gasps. Julian tugged on her sleeve, and her mother shot her a desperate look. Only then did she seem to suppress her shock, clenching her fists as she slowly sat back down. Grandpa Vance threw his chopstick down, his voice thick with fury. "Are you a child, running away from your own wedding? You nearly disgraced the entire Vance family. Since you love sleeping so much, why didn't you just stay frozen? You could have slept until I was dead, until your parents were in the ground." Her mother quickly got up to soothe him. "Dad, please don't talk like that. It's bad luck." Despite the scolding from her elders, Veronica was unresponsive. Her gaze was locked on me so intensely that she didn't even hear Julian whispering to her. The dinner ended with Grandpa Vance storming off to his room in a rage. I sent Leo upstairs to cheer him up, and after staying at the main house a little longer, I ran into Veronica waiting for me by the door. She grabbed my arm, her eyes red and puffy as if she'd been crying. "Tell me, why did you marry my aunt? I know there has to be a reason. Did she force you?" I pulled my arm away. "There was no force. It was my choice." "Impossible. You love me. You could never love another woman." I let out a soft laugh. "And yet, as you can see, I married Eleanor and I love her. Before I married Eleanor, I truly believed that Veronica was the only person I would ever love. We met in college. It was simple and sweet. One day I was walking past the basketball court when a ball came flying toward my head. Veronica saw it and sprinted over to block it for me. Her small frame took the hit, but she lost her balance and fell, hitting her mouth on the steps and scraping her arm. I was terrified, but she just laughed it off, telling me she was fine. I took her to the campus clinic to get patched up. Out of guilt and gratitude, I made sure she was changing her bandages and checked on her recovery. We became close. After a while I asked her out. But then her old flame Julian came back into the picture. She swore they were just good friends, that she was over him. I believed her. My head was filled with dreams of our future, and I gave her my heart completely. However, I was just the loyal dog who would love her no matter what. In her eyes, my love slowly became worthless. "I know you're mad at me," she said now, her voice pleading. "Mad that I left you at the altar. But Julian tried to kill himself over me. I couldn't just let him die. He's awake now, and I can finally breathe again. Can we please start over? You could divorce my aunt. I won't hold it against you that you have a child with another woman." I stared at her in disbelief. The person who felt like a stranger to me 6 years ago had now become utterly repulsive. "Veronica, I am never divorcing her. You make me sick." "Say that again," she shrieked, grabbing me with sudden force. I struggled to break free, but she held on tight, her eyes wild, trying to pull me into an embrace. Suddenly, a blur of motion cut through the air. Eleanor's hand cracked across Veronica's face, and in the next second, a gentle hand pulled me back. Eleanor stepped in front of me, shielding me, and slapped Veronica again, even harder. Her voice was like ice. "Ethan is my husband. Who gave you the right to touch him?" Blood trickled from the corner of Veronica's mouth. Her face was chalk white. "No, that's not right. He's my husband. We were about to get married. Everyone in Boston knows that Ethan Cole loves me, that he was going to marry me." She gritted her teeth and managed a twisted smile. "And Eleanor, you took something I didn't want, but now I'm back and I've changed my mind. You should give Ethan back to me." Eleanor's fury exploded. She kicked out, sending Veronica stumbling backward. "Watch your mouth, or I'll rip that tongue out of your head. If you don't want to be a part of this family, just say the word." Veronica cried out in pain. The commotion brought her mother running out of the house. "Eleanor, what are you doing?" she cried, horrified. Back at our own villa, Eleanor, Leo, and I settled in. Leo dutifully brought out the first aid kit for me to tend to Eleanor's hand. Looking at her scraped knuckles, my chest ached. She winced, putting on a pained expression. "It hurts. Kiss it and make it better." Leo, ever the diplomat, covered his eyes with his hands. I shot Eleanor a playful glare, then cupped her face and gently kissed her lips. "I heard you," she said suddenly, her expression serious. I looked down at her, confused. "Heard what?" "I heard you say you love me." I paused. In all our years of marriage, I realized I'd never actually said those words to her face. Even after 6 years together, my heart still started to pound. Suppressing a flutter of excitement, I looked her straight in the eye. "Eleanor Vance, I love you." Somewhere along the way, in the quiet moments of our everyday life, I had fallen completely in love with her. She wrapped her arms around my neck and kissed me deeply. "Gross. Mommy and Daddy are being gross." Leo chanted, covering his eyes and running out of the room. Grandpa Vance was livid. He refused to reinstate Veronica at the family company. She didn't seem to care. She moved out, started her own firm, and made a big show of striking out on her own. One day, probably knowing Eleanor was out, she rang the doorbell of our villa. This time there was no shouting, no hysterics, just a look of profound sadness and resentment in her eyes. "Ethan, seeing you with my aunt is killing me. It's worse than death. I've already told Julian it's over. There's nothing between us anymore. You and my aunt have been married for 6 years. They say there's a 7-year itch, and you two never had any real feelings for each other to begin with. It's time for a divorce. She could never truly love you. She's a ruthless businesswoman who only sees you as a means to an end, a tool to produce an heir. You're just convenient. You and I are the ones who are truly in love. Come back to me. I'll prove to you that you can trust me, that you can rely on me. Anything she can do, I could do better, and I can give you love." Even now, she was still putting me down, looking down on me. She had been willing to shut herself off from the world for 6 years for Julian. Now that they could finally be together, why was she suddenly obsessed with me again? I was about to respond when Julian himself came charging up the driveway. "Veronica, why? You can't leave me. You promised you'd marry me, that we'd be together forever." She shoved him away. "I already made myself clear, Julian. I know what my heart wants now. We're finished." Julian screamed, completely unhinged. "Veronica, I almost died for you. You can't just throw me away. You have to marry me." Her face was cold, unmoved. "Your suicide attempt was your own choice, and I spent 6 years waiting for you. I've done more than enough." Julian whirled around and lunged at me, his hands closing around my throat. "You son of a bitch, this is all your fault. You already have a wife. Why are you trying to steal my woman? I'm going to kill you." Veronica, enraged, tore his hands off me and started beating him with her fists, kicking him like he was trash. Julian's face was scratched and bleeding. "Veronica, why are you doing this to me?" he wailed. "You told me you loved me." I closed the door, shutting the whole chaotic scene outside. I never imagined that when Julian said he wouldn't let me get away with it, he meant spreading malicious lies about me online. He put out a story on Twitter claiming that not only had I stolen his girlfriend back in the day, but I had also emotionally manipulated him, driving him to overdose and fall into a coma. He painted Veronica as a tragic heroine, so devoted that she froze herself to wait for her one true love for 6 long years. The story went viral. People were calling it a modern-day fairy tale. It didn't last long. The Vance family's lawyers had it scrubbed from the internet within hours. But Julian's stunt had 2 unintended consequences. First, the hospital's official account posted a statement clarifying that Julian Croft's coma was not the result of a drug overdose, but an accident caused by severe alcohol intoxication. They urged the public not to be misled by false information. Second, Veronica immediately came to find me, insisting she had been deceived. She claimed Julian's best friend was the one who told her he had tried to kill himself for her. She begged me for forgiveness, saying she was a victim too, that Julian had played her for a fool, which is why she left me at the altar. "If I had known what he was really like, I would have died before leaving you," she pleaded. "I regret it so much. Please don't punish me anymore." I ignored her. She started blowing up my phone with calls and texts. I hadn't blocked her number out of respect for her being Eleanor's niece, not wanting to burn that bridge completely. But Julian's actions seemed to have given Veronica a new idea. She suddenly started making grand public declarations of love for me on her Instagram. "Ethan, you're the only one I love. I will wait for you for the rest of my life. We missed our moment, but we won't miss our lifetime. Loving you. Waiting for you. Our dawn will come," she posted obsessively, as if determined to make the entire world see how devoted she was to me. Years ago, I would have been ecstatic thinking I had found the most loving woman in the world. Now, watching her antics just felt pathetic, like watching a clown's desperate performance. Her Instagram career didn't last long. This time she had truly infuriated Eleanor. Eleanor made one call to Grandpa Vance, and that was it. She forcibly shut down Veronica's company and had her put on a plane out of the country. With Veronica gone, life was finally quiet. One afternoon, I was picking Leo up from kindergarten. He was skipping happily, and I held his hand tightly. Suddenly, an electric scooter swerved from the middle of the street and accelerated straight toward us. Just as it was about to hit, I lunged forward to push my son out of the way. Then there was a cacophony of shouting and crashing. A group of large, well-built men appeared from nowhere, physically intercepting the scooter and throwing it to the side of the road. My son and I fell to the pavement, but we were unharmed. The driver of the scooter was Julian. He was bleeding from the fall, lying on the ground and glaring at me with pure hatred. "Ethan Cole, you had no right to send Veronica away. You just don't want us to be together, you bastard. Why don't you just die?" He struggled, pulling a knife from his pocket and trying to charge at me, but the men quickly surrounded and subdued him. I found out later that the men were bodyguards Eleanor had hired to watch over me and Leo. She had worried that a man as desperate as Julian might do something reckless. She was right. We were going to hand Julian over to the police, but his parents came to us begging. They promised to take their son and leave Boston to never show their faces here again. For our wedding anniversary, Eleanor sent Leo to stay at the main house so we could have a trip just for the two of us. We went to a stunning island in Hawaii and then to the bustling metropolis of New York City. I thought it was just a simple vacation, but everywhere we went, she had a surprise waiting for me. A field of flowers arranged to spell out her love, extravagant gifts. One evening we were standing at the floor-to-ceiling window of our hotel room. She was in my arms when suddenly the massive digital billboard on the skyscraper across from us lit up with a bold, simple, "Eleanor Vance loves Ethan Cole." The words repeated, filling the entire screen like a student diligently copying lines in a notebook. I laughed, touching my forehead to hers. "This feels like something a teenager would do. Would you like me to write a short epilogue showing Eleanor and Ethan's life a few years into the future?" She stood on her toes and kissed the corner of my mouth, whispering, "Ethan Cole, I love you, and I have for longer than you think." I pulled back, looking at her in confusion. She smiled softly, her forehead resting against mine. "I fell for you back when you first met Veronica. Eleanor is 7 years older than me. When I was in college, she was already a successful professional. I never would have dreamed of thinking of her in that way. She told me she had seen me tending to Veronica's scraped arm all those years ago. She just watched from a distance. That was when it started. She even admitted to once cutting her own finger just so she would have an excuse to get close to me, to ask me for a Band-Aid. But then I started dating Veronica, and she had to suppress the feelings she had for a much younger man. I never knew she had loved me for so long. During our time in Hawaii, Eleanor blindfolded me and led me to a special location. When I opened my eyes, I was standing before an endless sea of red flowers. They were arranged into giant hearts, a castle, and the words, "I love you." It was like stepping into a fairy tale. Eleanor was holding a ring box. Inside was a diamond that shone with a brilliant fire. She got down on one knee, her expression reverent and sincere. "Ethan, our wedding was so rushed. The ring I gave you was borrowed from a guest in the heat of the moment. Today, I, Eleanor Vance, am officially proposing to you. Will you marry me?" Her voice was steady. "For the rest of our lives, be my husband and only mine forever." Tears welled in my eyes. I was laughing as I accepted the ring she slid onto my finger, but I couldn't stop myself from calling her a fool. "A man is supposed to do these things," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "But do you like it?" "I love it." I pulled her into a deep embrace, a wave of emotion washing over me, my vision blurring with tears. "I'm so glad," I whispered, my voice choked, "that I didn't miss you." The words she had spoken were the very same ones in my own heart.